Cool, lovely. Okay, so apologies about that. So I will get that fixed. I have no idea what's going on there. So what I need to do is, in fact, I haven't even downloaded that yet. So hopefully you've all got that set up. I'm going to quickly, I'll save this into OneDrive, which I shared with you folks. So I'm just going to go to OneDrive, go down to academic year. There you go, you can see the inner workings. Cool, so let's quickly download this. And you already have this. So once I get this implemented in, could someone tell me what's happening? I should be able to play the scene. The scene should play it absolutely fine. Let's just go import package, custom package, downloads, RPG template, open.
Yeah, the guy goes wherever you click.
Lovely, fantastic, cool. And we'll just show that as well as it loads in. And let's just ignore that. Cool. Scenes, sample scene. There we go. So when I press play, I can click and my RPG character moves to those areas. And I think I can even go up the stairs here. So I've created this by using a nav mesh agent. So who can tell me what a nav mesh agent is? Yeah. So,
isn't it like an area where the AI is allowed to explore, basically?
Yeah. So AI or even the player himself. So.
Yeah, because if the nav mesh isn't on, like, say, a hill, the player isn't able to walk.
You can create things like that.
Exactly, we can create things like that. So even while actually I'll come out of play just in case it doesn't save it. So this is just a really, really small level that I put together, and I did the sort of the hills and the bumps on purpose. So if we go to window, go to, it was under navigation, it's now run off to under AI. And if we go to AI and go to navigation, we can see where this object is baked and where it's not baked. So we can have a look round and we can see that really I've done, and I've reduced this, and we can reduce this and click bake again, and you can change all the settings, and you can make sure that where your character can and can't go. From that, I've then created a couple of scripts, which one is called movement, and we'll have a quick look at movement. And here we can see get input down. Oh, go away. Say move to cursor, and I've created a custom method that says our camera is point to screen. So wherever I point, it's going to create a raycast. So do you remember what a raycast is?
Is it like an invisible? I want to say signal where it goes from the player to the destination where you point, which tells the player where to go.
Very close. It's essentially it shoots a line or hits a line. So from the player, so where this script is living, it will find a point. So essentially anything that has a collider on it. So within our game, if I click over here and it's within the nav mesh, my player will go to it. I can click over here, but I'm not sure if my player will actually be able to reach that area. So I can click and the player will try, but we'll get to that boundary where if we have a look here, we can see that it was going to try its best, but it won't be able to get there. Okay.
Will it constantly try and go there? Or...
No. As soon as I click, if I go in my game, if I go back to my game tab, I can click back. And if I just click down here, it will start to move down again. Okay. And then we can...
Like, say you have like an animating character, you get to the boundary, and they can't really tell, will they constantly be able to...
No, because well, that's what you've segued me, James, beautifully into what we're going to do today with this project. What we're going to do is we're going to look at an advanced blending tree. Okay, so who could tell me what a blend tree is?
It's like a combination of animations that work within a flow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So.
Well done. So there are a combination of animations that can flow together, even though if these animations weren't meant to be together. Okay, so we have a bunch of animations that say from Mixamone, you can have a completely different idle, a completely different walk, and a completely different run, but the blend tree will blend them to make them flow together. Okay, and that's what we're going to create today. And the point of that, just I'm showing you that it's a third-person character or point-and-click RPG is just something different that you haven't seen before. Okay, so and you can take the basic bones of this and jump with it where you want to go. Okay, so if some of you are struggling with ideas for your idea generation, you can take this idea and run with it. Okay, the basic code will work with anything as long as you've got a nav mesh. Okay. And I do have a video which I'll upload a little bit later onto the Discord about looking into intro of nav meshes as well. Okay, cool. So I know some of you have done it and some groups I have not done it with. So, but don't worry, I've got a nice easy video to understand nav meshes. Okay, awesome. Right, so what we're going to do first is what I'd like you to do is either you can download the night pack and get your character from there, or you can jump onto Mixamote and grab your own character if you're feeling quite confident with this. Okay. Ideally, I would like you to find your own characters, your own idle, your own walk, and your own run animations, and bring them in to Unity. That's the ideal, because then you get a better understanding. If you're a bit like, oh, I'm not too sure about this, haven't seen blend trees before, I've only done the basics of transitions between animations, that's fine, just download the night pack. Okay, but again, if you're going to show this within your working, I want you to do it yourself. Okay, as I said, you can take the capsule, you can take the environment that I've created, but ideally I want you to do with your own characters, your own animations. Okay, again, it does, the point that this is point and click doesn't change the fact that this will work with a third person, will work with even an FPS. It's just, the only difference is the position of the camera and what you're actually doing with mouse click. So I'm going to download Nightpack. Download. Cool, so I'll give you a couple of minutes to find your character that you find may be appropriate for the scene or inappropriate for the scene. Do not mind. So an idle, a walk, and a run, please. Okay, if the materials aren't going in straight away, don't worry about that. We can deal with that, those little bits later. I think my knight will be probably just grey for now until I do the materials a little bit later. That's absolutely. So what you need to do, have you unzipped the package? Cool. So all you need to do is take that folder, that unzipped folder, and drag it into Unity. No problem. So remember, we are using the point and click to move our animations, okay, and to move our character. The point of that our character might move with some animations is more aesthetic than anything else. So every time you download a walk and a run animation, you want to make sure they are checked in place on Mixamo, please. Otherwise we'll have some problems. Make sure they are in place. Only time we'd rarely uncheck in place is if there's some kind of movement where the character kind of goes full circle and walks around again, maybe, as an NPC. But we want full control of the movement of that character and where they go, obviously, because it's point and click. Okay, I'll give you a couple more minutes. And the first thing we'll do is make sure that we can implement our character instead of the capsule. Okay. We've done this a couple of times before, but it's always been a bit weird and a bit dodgy, so it's good to go over it again, of replacing that capsule. And what are we actually removing from that capsule in place of the player as well, which is really important to know. So hopefully you are taking notes, or you can watch the dodgy audio and the dodgy video afterwards that I've spliced together. And then you can take some notes from there. Cool, one more minute and then we'll jump on to getting our character. So remember, little things are always good to note down. Animations in place is a really good thing. I believe if we have a look at the character here, all the animations at the moment, if we go click on rig, they're all generic. So what do they need to be?
Oh, humanoid.
You need to make everything humanoid. Okay. Initially, if you're using the knight character, you won't have an avatar, so you need to create one. Okay. So what I can do is, if I've clicked on my knight himself, which is here, what I can do is I'm going to go click on rig under the inspector, go animation type, go from generic to humanoid, and then I'm going to define my avatar. So defining the avatar is finding where that IK is. Okay, so that one point in the back that will fix all animations together, wherever they're from, essentially. It doesn't even need to be mixed mode as long as they're turned into humanoid. So what we can do is we're going to create from this model, because we don't have an avatar for this model yet. So we're going to create from this model, standard 4 bones, click apply. There we go. Lovely. And now when I look in the package, you can see that I'll have a little avatar there, that little icon there. Cool, lovely. And as I go, I'll probably go over again and change these because at the moment these are all set to generic, and I'll change these a little bit later, but for now. So I've already got a prefab of our capsule here. So there he is, boom, boom, boom. And if we look at the player, there's nothing parenting him at the moment. We have a capsule mesh filter, the mesh renderer, capsule collider, and the navigation nav mesh agent. So if you want anything to follow your nav mesh or your nav mesh once you've baked your terrain or baked your scene, whether they be NPC or the player themselves, they will always need a nav mesh agent. Okay. The nav mesh agent, and this is essentially where we can control movement when it comes to, especially for the point and click. For other movement of third-person characters, usually they just need to. That component just needs to sit on it, and then you won't be able to walk off the edge of a level or something like that. Especially if you're prototyping something, and you don't want to show a game off to loads of people where they can always just run off the edge and you have to reset the game. Really, really annoying. So it's always good to do a nav mesh because they'll get to a point and can't go any further. Okay, and you can reduce that nav mesh as well and to what you want. Okay. So for example, let's say I didn't want my character to walk up these stairs. Well, what I would do is find that building, which is that one here, and I would uncheck it from static. Okay. The only reason that the nav mesh is baking over this and being able to walk on this building is because it's been checked as static. Okay. What's the main reason of static within our game?
Well, it's just an object that isn't going to move, basically.
An object that isn't going to move. And Unity knows that before it starts up. So anything else that's not static, Unity is half expecting it to move. Okay. So if you check all the things that are not going to move within your game as static, that will also help optimization and processing. So your game will run better as well. Okay, cool, lovely. So again, if I didn't want my character to walk on this, I would uncheck it from static, or you could change it from here, and I could actually take it out of navigation static. So it could still be static, so it runs better for the optimization of the game, but I could uncheck it from here, and then my character couldn't walk on that asset anymore. Okay, cool, lovely. So let's get back to the character. So I'm focused on my player here, and I'm going to drag in my knight or your character, just the character themselves. They're in a T pose at the moment. So I'm going to click and drag them straight onto the player so they parent. Okay, and you'll be able to see them just stuck there like that. This is a good way of doing things, essentially. It may not look it at the moment, but all the animations can live within the character themselves, and everything that's going to be sort of affecting the world can live in the player component itself here. Okay, so the most annoying thing when we first start off is the capsule itself. So what we need to do is remove the capsule mesh filter, which is here. So we can click those dots and go to remove components. So that removes the skin of it, essentially. We're going to keep the mesh renderer, and we're going to remove the capsule collider. Okay. Lovely. Cool. Once we've removed those two things, we actually have some kind of collider or capsule around our player already. Okay. Let's have a look at that position of that player. Our player is at 0, but I am going to just pull him down to the ground. So I'm going to pull my player down to the ground and make sure his feet are actually touching the ground. Yeah, it's a bit of a bumpy ground, but that'll do.
Well, we need to adjust the nav mesh height to match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So if we go back into our player, we'll probably have to reset our nav mesh here. Okay, so our base of our nav mesh is currently at 1. If we set that at 0, it's a bit wonky. So what we can do, we can go into minus numbers with this nav mesh as well. So I'm going to change the nav mesh offset to, so what I can do, I can get these little angles and scroll it down. That looks pretty good. Because when he has his arms down and he's animating, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I might change the height a little bit. Actually, the height, I'm not going to worry about the heights. Angular speed is fine. Stopping distance is 0. Speed is 3.5. Base offset is that. Oh, we have got a height of 2. We can change that down. There we go. Change that to 1.7. And then my radius, let's try 0.3. There we go. You might want it a little bit wider than that so it doesn't create, it might create a gap between a natural gap between your player and buildings and objects. Could help. Might help with clipping as well, but for now we will go with this. Cool, lovely. So remember, this is a prefab. We need to update this. How do we update prefabs once they're in the inspector or in our scene?
Overrides.
Overrides, well done, Gabriel. So what we've got to do is we go up to overrides, up the top here for our player. Once we click that drop down, you can see that it goes, oh, blimmin' hell, you've been busy. You've changed the nav mesh, you've deleted those two, and you've also added a player. So what we're going to do is click apply all, and that will update our player. Okay, what's this screaming on about? Blah, 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 blah. Object preview, cleanup method, go away. Cool. Not going to worry about that. Lovely. So we've downloaded our idle, walk, and run animations. What we're going to do is we're going to quickly make sure that they're humanoid. Okay. If you know how to do this, go for it. So this is my idle. So I'm going to go to rig, animation type. I'm going to change this to humanoid. And my avatar is now going to come from the knight because we used that to create to create that avatar anyway. So it will rig to that knight. So what we can do, we can click the drop down and go copy from another avatar. And then what we can choose, and it should be just the one that you've created. There shouldn't be another one. Lovely. And then we can click apply. Lovely. And we're going to rinse and repeat that with every single one. So you can do that with your run and you can do that with your walk. Last one. Copy from avatar. Lovely, right. So let's have a look. So if we click on the underneath the player or the name, this is called Paladin J Nordstrom for some weird reason, the name of our knight, we can see it should already have an animator on there. If there isn't an animator, make sure you go to add component and go to animator. So you can go to add component and you can just type in, there we go, it's animator. So you can add an animator there onto your player, okay? Or onto the character, not the player. Apologies. Cool, lovely. So we need an animator controller to control our animations. So I've already got, so in my assets, I've already got that folder here. I'm just going to keep everything in here for my character. So I'm going to go right click, go to create and go to an animator controller. I'm just going to call this knight as well. And we can add this to there. Lovely. So add it into the controller. Cool. If you're taking notes, I'll just give you a minute to take some notes down.
We're able to see the player.
Yeah, so you add it. So you've got the player here, and I've got my character that's underneath my player in the parents, and I've added my animator, and then I've added the animator controller, where it's asked for the controller on the component. Once you've done all that, what you can do is go to Window and go to Animation and make sure you get the animator up. Lovely. So once we're in our animator, we can click and move around. If we click, hold Alt on our keyboard and click around, you can move and adjust your base layer so you can see what's sort of going on. Okay, so once we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to right click, go create state, and this time we're going to go to from new blend tree. So I cannot remember for life of me, I know it was only last year, I probably did do blend trees very briefly.
Yeah, we done one.
Done
Like
one.
an idle walk to run.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we've done a version of. Lovely. So we can click blend tree. And what we can do, let's see if we can, if we double click into it, sorry. So if we go onto our blend tree here, so it's obviously, it's starting now from entry. It's a default. So unlike transitions and other animation states, we can double click onto this and actually go into our blend tree here. Then at the on the right hand side, the blend tree comes up in our inspector, and we can rename this. Okay, you could call it movement, or we could be really technical with it and call it locomotion. So any kind of movement for our player, whether it be crouch, whether it be rolling, whether it be jumping, all locomotion. Could be dancing. Okay, so we're going to hang on. I'm going to pull this over a little bit so you can see what's happening here. So we're going to hang around on this bit for a little bit. So if I click on my blend tree here, within my animator, you can see that it changes again. Okay? And at the moment, we've got no animations on there, so this is why he's doing this weird pose. Okay? So we're not going to worry about that for a minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to add, under motion, we're going to add some motion fields. Okay? So we're going to add one motion field, we're going to add two motion fields, and we're going to add three motion fields. What do we think these motion, because as soon as we've clicked these motion fields, we see this kind of parameter bar pop up here in the different shades of blue. What is that representing, you think?
Flowing between the animations.
Well done, 100%, yeah. Each one represents a different animation, which we need to put that in. And then as we can even, once we drag in these animations, you can drag this needle across and see what's happening between two animations and how they're blended in together. Okay? So what we need to do now is drag each animation into our motion. So the best way to do that, if we go to our project, is that this is the whole package of our animation. So what I need to do is go dunk and find the animation itself. Okay? and click and drag, and that will jump into our motions there. You can also click the point and you can find the animations there as well. But I prefer to go, right, what am I actually looking for? And again, I'm going to put them in order the way they're going to flow. So I've got my idle, my walking, and my run unarmed, or unarmed run forward. And as soon as you've done that, can you see that our preview at the bottom, it's a bit funny, let's move this, there we go. We can press play, and if we are on our animator, we can see that we should, oh actually, no worries. So at the moment we're in our idle state as this blend tree plays through, but if I start to scroll across with this actually, we can see that animation is starting to change there. So that's that transition. That's that point of that transition of beginning to walk, from idle to walk. And that looks smooth. It looks really nice and smooth. So we can then transition to full-on walk. There we go.
That's not doing anything for me.
Okie dokie. I'll come over a look at a mo. Are all of your animations humanoid?
Oh, sure, the laptops.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, no worries. Deliver them there, mate. That'd be absolutely fine. Thank you very much. And as we transition from our walk to our run, we can see that transition. That's halfway of that transition. And then we can go boom, boom, boom to our full running animation there. Cool. I'll come and have a quick look. Make sure all of your animations are black boxes. Silky. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sweet. Cool. So you think of any good at creating that avatar? That's it. All right.
I did that, but then they said that it just automatically changed it to generic. I did that first time.
You should change it.
I did the first time, but now it's not.
Okay. So make sure there's all of that for the animations. Cool. And you should be okay. There we go. Maybe you just didn't select the avatar.
No, I did.
Okay. But it's all seems to be all right now. So what did you?
I just changed the thing. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Lovely. Is that working? Is that all working? Lovely. No, this is good. Taking notes. Oh, lovely. I'll give you 3 on that signature. Beautiful. Cool. Lovely. Fantastic. So we've essentially created a really nice blend tree. Unity is really good at mangling 3D animations together and getting them to work well together. Okay, and as you can see, as we move this red bar, we can see the bar at the bottom here. They're essentially the same thing. You've got this bar, and as you can see, it kind of highlights how it transitions through that blend tree animation there from idle walk to unarmed run. Okay, cool. Right, I'll let you take some notes because it's good to show understanding of this. Cool, lovely. A bit of a wonk actually, but cool, lovely. So one more thing we need to do before we start thinking about editing these animations a little bit more is if we go into project, we need to click on each of these animations, go to animation itself, and we need to go to loop time and loop pose. Otherwise it's going to play the animation once and just freeze. Okay. Loop time and loop pose. Click apply. And we're going to do that for each ones. A little bit of housekeeping almost.
So where was that come on?
So if you click on the animation under the project, so the actual file itself in project, and then in the inspector, we've got model, rig, or animation. If we click on the animation button and scroll down a bit in the inspector, you'll see loop time and loop pose, and they'll both be unchecked. And you just need to put a tick by those two. And then once you've got those ticks, you can click apply at the bottom.
Is that for all three?
All three, please, yeah. It ensures that the animation loops round while in gameplay. Lovely. So we've got about 4 minutes before break. So we're going to do try and get one more thing bunged in our animator. So within our blend tree, where we've got everything, it does that, everything working, and all our animations are blending together nicely within our preview. If we click parameters on the left-hand side, we can see that this blend tree is working already from a parameter that's been automatically created within the blend tree. And that parameter is a float, okay? And we've used floats before, so decimal numbers to move our character. We are actually now using the float or the decimal place system to move between our idle, our walk, and our unarmed run. So you can see under here, you can see threshold, and we can see that idle is at 0, so no movement at all. At 0.5, we've got walking, we begin to walk, and then the unarmed run forward is at 1, okay? And so this will now correspond with our walking, our speed of our player. Our speed of our player is controlled by our navmess agent. Okay, so if we go over to our navmess agent, we can see that the speed at here is up to 3.5. It can be anything essentially, but obviously the higher it is, the speedier it will go. Okay. So the problem we have here, if we have a look at our blend tree, as soon as we hit 1, we're running. Do we really want to be doing that automatically? Okay. Essentially, the answer is no, because we always be running and we'll never see the clear blending transition between walking and running. We'll just constantly be running. What's the point of having walking? Okay. So one thing that we can do, and a thing that I found out the other day, was if we go, is it under model? We have to try and remember where it is now. I have to find out where that information is. So each animation has almost a guide of what they should be working at, or how they should work with velocity. Okay, so how they should be working with speed. And what we can do is we can find that data out, and usually I can find the data here, but can I, for love nor money, can't find it now. Maybe it's under motion. Nope. Important messages. Nope. Is it on the animation itself? Yes, it's on the animation itself. Sorry. Okay, so I'm clicked on my idle, and if I click on the animation itself, it says that it believes that the animation speed should be at 0. It actually tells you, Mixamo tells you what speed really that animation should be working at. So the idle, your speed should be at 0. Okay. And I only found this out the other day, which I thought was really a bit nerdy. So if we find the animation for unarmed run, we can see that it says, oh, maybe unarmed run should start from the speed or velocity average of 0.027. That's quite low. Okay. Because I think this animation isn't really, not really suited, but we're mangling it, aren't we? We're mangling it for this character. And even if so, if we look here, in it thinks the walking should work from minus 0.003 to 0.001. It should be working from. We can set those different averages, don't worry. Just because mix mode tells us that those animations can work from them doesn't mean we're going to use it. Okay, so what we can do is if our speed, let's set our speed. I found that our speed is pretty good. So if we go and if we press play, not sure if any of the animations will work at the moment because I haven't coded them in. Oh, the idle's working because that's working at 0. If we click, that's okay. Speed's okay. But I found, personally for me, you can change this. On the NavMesh agent, I changed this to about 5.6, I think. Really picky, but I was just fiddling with it the other day. And when I clicked, I was like, oh, that's better. It's a quicker movement for me. And then we can even click up the stairs like that. Lovely. And that worked a bit better for me. Okay, so now our speed is at 5.6. That's the top speed. So our threshold, if we go back into our animator and click on our blend tree, our unarmed run threshold is going to be the top at 5.6. By the time we're at 5.6, we should be running at top speed, okay? So at the moment, it's on automate thresholds. What we're going to do is we're going to uncheck that, and we can select what we want, okay? So initially, let's say if we go velocity Z, it adds in those numbers, those really complex numbers from that mixed mode data. We don't really want that. So our idle is going to work from 0. Our walking is going to work from, let's say, 1.5. And our run is going to be the top of 5.6. So we're not going to be idling for very long, which is quite right. As soon as we move, because the float is creating the movement.
I think it automatically.
Oh, it's automatically set that back, isn't it? 1.5. There we go. Enter. There we go.
But I was going to say you've got your run set to 1.5.
Oh yeah, sorry. It's all changed it all.
Changes,
That's really annoying. And my walking is 1.5. It should put that back in order. There we go. Cool. So it's a bit more skew width than it was, but I believe it's now better. So our maximum speed for our threshold of our run animation is the maximum speed of our NavMesh agent. Okay? And our walking is pretty much as soon as we set off at 1.5. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, go and grab a coffee and all that stuff, and we're going to implement a piece of code that will get our character walking and running within our scene. Okay? Cool. And I'm going to try and stop these recordings at the same time. See how successful I'll be. 3, 2, 1. Okie dokie, lovely. Let's make sure I can actually see what I'm doing. Cool. So, we've now established our thresholds on our animator, on our blend tree, and we've set 0, 1.5, and 5.6. Okay. And again, we can test this out to see how this works. Or it vanishes, either or. And then we can play through. We know the transitions are all good. Lovely. Cool, that looks good. Obviously, you've got some real major clipping. There's a couple of ways you can edit the animations, but it can be a bit fiddly. But hopefully, you've got like a nice, Unity should have sorted out the blend of fading one to the other, and it doesn't look too weird. Okay, so what we're going to do, you will see this thing about the workspace and it being null. Don't worry about that, because you can just clear it. It's fine for now. I don't actually know why it's popping up. It just does. It will still work, and eventually it went away. So I did something made it go away. But I'm going to be honest, I don't know what that was. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into our movement script. And just another thing, when we look at, and again, I will send you the video about nav meshes because I think they are important. And the more I think about it, and the more I'm trying to explain it, the more it sounds a bit mushy. You need to call up Unity.ai as well for the nav mesh. So hopefully this isn't too crazy. That I've left that there accidentally. Don't worry about that. Cool, lovely. I'm just having a look at that. So at the moment, we've got get mouse button down. Okay, so what this is telling us is that we have to press the button down to move. Okay, if we just go get mouse, quickly save this, what we can do, if I go back into my game and press play, you'll probably just go into idle. And what I can do, instead of now a click will work, but what I can also do is click and drag. Look, running around all around the place. So it actually creates a bit more of a better controller with just removing one word. Okay. So there you go. There's one thing. So yeah, just get mouse. Or get mouse button, and then you said 0. So you can click and you can either click or click and hold. So I will have to get those blinds sorted, won't I?
I have to be the one spot where it actually goes.
You're that one person who is absolutely annihilating your eyes. You might have to move forward a little bit. Okay, so this is where we need to be. Initially, we're going to be nice and clean with this. We're going to create a brand new method. And we're going to just create it under, actually I'm going to show you a cool thing we can do. So under here we can create, let's just say update animator, I think I called it earlier. So update animator, bracket, semicolon. Cool. So this hasn't given us a red line yet, even though update animator doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist.
Because they mine those.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Some will, some won't, but there's reasons why. So at the moment, update animator doesn't exist. With some Visual Studios, depending what they are, this is 2022. 2019 might give it a red line.
Oh, that might be right.
The reason why it hasn't given it a red line is because this is almost like the proper way to do things. Usually we create a method and stuff like that, but if you write the method line here, if we right click on this. Let's go. It's not going to refactor it for me. Make sure you have to click. It's going to allow me to click that. Nope. You just want to click on it. There we go. So if I get this little spanner and click this spanner, lines 1 to 18. No, do I want to do that? No. Why is it not letting me?
I've got a bit, it says generate method.
Yes, that's what we want. So if it comes up and says generate method for you, that's exactly what we want it to do. We don't want it to...
I think it's because it was a red line though. Like, because it was...
Yeah, maybe it should do.
Light bulb instead of a spanner.
So it's pretty much, it will generate, if you click on generate method, it will create a method for you straight away. Which is really a really cool, quick way of doing things on your code. Instead, it's not doing that for me, so I'm just going to go the old school route and go private update animator.
I'm assuming what it's put in there is not right as well. It's like throw new non-implement.
Oh yeah, just delete that. Cool.
Yeah.
What I am going to do is I want my camera to update and my raycast to update before my animator. So I am going to, in fact, move this below here. So that's where I want this to go. Remember how Unity, how C# scripts are read? They are read from like how we read, so from left to right, from top to bottom. And we want it to read the raycast first, so it reads the raycast, then we animate. Okay? So that's the whole reason why we put update animate just below. Cool, so in our update animator, what we're going to do first is we're going to create a local variable within here called vector3, so that's our position of x, y, and z, and we're going to call this velocity, because obviously that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the velocity, and a velocity already lives within vector3, so it's its own speed between those transforms. And we can go equals to get components. Come on, pop up for me. Why is this not doing this today? I know why. I do it every time. Every time. Look, Unity's got this weird thing. It's going to give me an error.
It's weird yours does that, because mine doesn't do that anymore.
I know. There you go. Every time. I'm actually going to close it. Go away. Close window. Cool. And then... Sorry, it's just a weird thing with this Unity. It never remembers. That's why it didn't create the method. There we go. Cool, lovely. So hopefully this will work now. So yay, red lines are good. Cool, and we're going to call up the nav mesh. And we're going to call up the nav mesh agent because we're going to use that speed, okay? Or most specifically, velocity of it.
Is that in brackets where it says nav mesh agent?
Oh, the pointy brackets from nav mesh agent? Yeah. So, also we've spoken about world space and local space. Before, I think last year we spoke about it, not 2 years ago. So, who can remember the difference between local space and world space within 3D on Unity? Any ideas?
I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. Isn't world space just like everything in the sea?
Yeah, so the movement and the rotation of the scene. What would local space then be?
For an object?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So we are an object, we are not the world, okay? So we need to talk about our local space. So again, we need a vector3 for this. I'm going to call this local velocity because it's our speed and our turning and our rotation of our character. And we can say transform transform dot inverse transform direction, and that is going to be dot velocity. Oh, come on. You guessed it right. So, why not do that? Why does it not do it? Annoying. There we go.
Was it inverse transform object?
So if you're unaware and you're unsure, if you float above it, it will tell you what inverse transform is. Transform a direction from a world space to local space. Okay? And essentially what this allows us to do, because we are shooting rays out, we're shooting those rays out and those positions into our world space. So we need to say, okay, we need to take where we've clicked in our world space and take it back to the player himself so he can go, oh, okay, mate, you'll go over here. Done. Okay? So that's why we're taking that world space to local space. We then need to say that the float speed, we could just call it that as a local variable, all local variables, is then going to be to our local velocity, which is going to be on dot z. Okay, so which way are we going to face? Well, our character is already facing in z. Our player was already facing in z when we originally opened that template. So we want him to face and rotate on the z-axis. And then our final thing is that we need to call up our animator. And we're going to do this straight from there. This is not the best way of doing things, but we're just going to do it quick because it's just one line of code. We're going to get component animator dot set float, and then we called. Oh, we didn't name it, did we? We didn't name it. I've just seen an issue where we haven't.
What with the parameter?
Yeah, did we call?
It was blend.
Cool, lovely. So we have a parameter of our float here, and this was automatically created. I think I got distracted by the thresholds. So for this to physically happen, for us to transfer all these animations, a float is happening, and that float is from 0 to 1.5 to 5.6, which then translate to our float in our nav mesh agent. Okay, that is being controlled by this one called blend here. We're going to rename this because we do. It's going to represent our forward speed. So if we double click on it, and we can change it to forward speed. And the way that you type that in is exactly the way that we need to type it in and call it up within our script. Apologies, we should have done that a bit earlier.
Where's this? Blend tray?
Yeah.
Under parameters.
Yeah. Under parameters on the blend tree, you'll see something called blend. Lovely. Now we've called that forward speed. We can call that forward speed within here. Remember, we need our quotation marks because it's looking for the string. And we're going to set that to the speed.
Is that the close bracket at the end?
It is, yeah. We need to encapsulate it. Lovely. So what we're going to do, we're going to save this script, jump back into Unity. You might still get the console. Oh no, the console is gone. And hopefully, once we press play, we can click and ooh, nothing's happening. Good. Right. So we'll have to.
The thing where it's about to get mouse.
So the get mouse thing. So this is what's just having a problem. Animator and player. We shouldn't need an animator on the player. Yeah, it might do. Hang on.
And then would you just use this? Would you just use the runtime controller maybe?
See, the animator should just work.
No, it's still.
No, I might have to scratch that. Yeah. Okay. So sorry, my bad. So number one, I'll do the on mouse. So what we did on the mouse is that we took our on mouse down. So what you can do is click and hold and run around with your mouse character. What we're going to do just to fix this issue very quickly is you're going to totally ignore what I said earlier about having the animator on the player. We are going to click and go copy component. So click those three dots and go to copy component. We're going to go to the player and we are going to go or add component. We'll go animator and we should be able to paste component values. Let's see if that adds everything. It should. There we go. So it needs to be on the player, the animator, and everything needs to be on the player, not the character. I apologise.
That's still not working.
Is it?
Yeah, because I did just try that.
Cool.
But it's yeah, that's. Oh, and remember. Oh wait, hold on. Maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe probably. Yeah, I'll work then. Yeah, there we go.
Cool, lovely. So once we've done that, we should then have, there we go, we've got a bit of running, there we go. And so if we go into our animator, so we can see our blend trees working here. If we click on our blend tree, we can click, and we should, oh, why is that not going live? Let's click on the player itself. Let's click on here, there we go. So there is a bit of slidiness, isn't there, with this? So we can fix this. But we are going from, if we're getting to running, you're walking, okay, if you get me. There we go, so we're clicking around there, blah, 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 clicking around, running around. So, but it is happening, getting
So
up
it's
to,
only when you change, like on a 180, if you're going, keep
Yeah.
going the same way you're going, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's when you're turning
So
around.
we need to have a look at that nav mesh agent. That's what's controlling this, okay?
Oh, I've got really bad camera shake all the time. It's like really juggling.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. The follow camera should fix that, really.
Yeah, when I play it, it sort of juggles.
What I might do is we might have to get a. I just quickly put that together, the camera follow for the player. What we might have to do is grab, what's it called, Cinemachine, and put a Cinemachine on it because that's better essentially. Okay, so what we can look at here, if we go to our nav mesh agent, we can see that we've got angular speed. Okay, we've got acceleration, we've got stopping distance. So we need to have a look at what we've got here. And angular speed at the moment is at, I can't even see it,
120.
120. So that's quite, like, it's not really that high in the grand scheme of things, really. And what we can do is we'll play at the moment. Yeah, look, it's this horrible sliding we've got there, that 180. So we need that to be quicker, a lot quicker. So if we go, let's try 500. Well, better, a little bit slidey still. So there's still a little bit of slide there, so we want to get rid of that. So with angular speed, I'm going to put, I'm not going to lie to you, it really annoyed me the other day, so I put 5,000 and that seemed to have fixed it. So put 5,000 and he seems, oh, it's still a little bit of slide. What can we get rid of that? Maybe just a little bit. The speed's okay though, I didn't quite like that. Let's see, it's running around, it's not too bad. 5,000 seems pretty good. Maybe to get really rid of that little bit of that last bit of slide, if we go to acceleration, which is 8,
Yeah,
I think I put
mine after it.
30.
Yeah.
Bang, there we go. It's really quick and snappy now, a lot quicker and a lot snappier. And you've created a really nice blending character.
Yeah, mine Joe's cat's still good on idle.
Still stuck in idle.
Yeah.
Are all the animations humanoid?
Yes.
and they were created humanoids to the avatar of your player.
Yes.
I'll come and have a look. So I'll just keep my settings up on here for a little bit. There we go. And then lovely, hopefully not really getting much slide anymore because it looks like it's just a bit glitchy, but seems to have fixed it.
Yeah, that's much better. It's a bit weird when you drag, but if
It will be because it's just
Would you?
Bit of a dodgy raycast, really. So, but that should fix it. Cool. So what I'm going to do is quickly go copy component and unpause and paste component values. There we go. Remember, if we've changed this, we've changed the player because we've just moved the animator. We need to go to the overrides and update those overrides and apply it all. Okay. Cool, lovely. So we've created in a short amount of time, quite a flexible moving character controller with a nice streamlined blend tree using the nav mesh navigation. No rigid body, no colliders, beautiful.
My character, once he moves from his idle to another place, and once he gets out and goes back to his idle, he just starts spinning in place.
Okay, we'll have a look. No problem. Cool. So what I'm going to do is go oop and